I heard you ask some great questions recently to one of my team members about hiring a director of development. When is it time to hire a director of development? It sounds like you were maybe really seriously considering that and had some questions about how to go about doing that and what's the best way to approach that. I actually get this question quite a bit and have some very specific guidance that I'm hoping could be helpful because unfortunately, most of the time, when a head of a ministry or a head of a Christian school makes the decision to hire a director of development for the first time, it normally does not work out very well. So the statistics are pretty overwhelming about how this does not go well. A simple poll of some of the school leaders you know, and you'll find that they've gone through two or three directors of development, oftentimes in a relatively short period of years. So this is a huge topic, but I want to give you some very specific things to consider that I'm hoping would be helpful. The first thing to be aware of is that there are really only two types of roles for development. Lots of different roles and titles and programs that can be handled by people, but there's really only two types of roles in the work of development. And that is, there are positions, there are people who do the work of building relationships with people and interacting with potential givers and donors. And then there are people who do the work that support all the aspects of that. So people who engage with people, and then people who support the work of engaging with people. So a director of development, obviously, when it's at its best, is someone that primarily is doing the work of engaging people and leading the overall development effort. Support roles could look anything like an administrative assistant, executive assistant, data system support, communications, event coordination, that sort of thing. Again, a person that's working with donors, that could be a major donor officer, that could be a plan giving person. So no matter how many people you have, or if you only have a team of two, there are really only those two kinds of roles. So the question is always, what capacity do we need to add at this time to grow giving? Right? Who is building those relationships, and then what kind of support is needed? And you just go kind of, you ratchet that capacity up over time as your giving is growing. So that's a good thing I always want to start with. Now, the thing about when to hire a director of development, this is sort of the probably shocking news to you. Everyone really wants, and when I say everyone, I mean heads of organizations, heads of school, board members. What they want is just to be able to hire somebody to do this and raise money. We just really need to hire somebody. It makes sense. If we pay the money, they will raise money. And while that seems logical, the problem is it doesn't really work out that way. These are expensive people if you're looking for experience, proven experience. They're hard to keep because there's a huge demand for them. And the reality is, I really recommend that you be raising currently anywhere from 200,000 to 300,000 a year in giving. 300,000 would be a better stable number before you invest in actually hiring a director of development. 200 to 300,000, really around 300,000 or more, is about the number that an individual founder, executive director, head of a school can be influencing and raising if they're doing the basics very, very well. And not even to a level of exceptional ability, just the basics and executing that well. So if you are currently raising around $300,000, then yeah, it may be time to really look at a director of development. But there's some things to consider as you do that. First of all, do you, as the leader of the organization, do you really understand the work of development? Do you know what the basics are? And are you doing what can be done to establish a core group of generous givers? If you aren't currently there, if you wouldn't describe yourself that way, if you just say, well, I really don't know how to do this, I need to hire somebody to do it, you're probably not even in the position to hire the right person. So what we see often is when a leader has not really been involved in development at all, I've never done this, it's not part of my job, I'm going to hire someone to do it. They normally end up hiring a glorified assistant or event planner, somebody that's just sending out letters and coordinating events. And frankly, it's hard to raise enough money to justify that full-time salary doing that. So make sure that you really understand yourself, the basics of development, and have established a core group of generous givers to maintain. This is one of the things that we do all the time through our coaching is helping individuals get to that place where they can really hire their first director of development. Another thing to consider is the importance of adding capacity to you and to the real program of your mission before development. As you've heard me say before, your ministry, your school does not exist to raise money. It exists to see specific things accomplished in the lives of people, and you spend money to accomplish that. Raising money then helps you operate it healthier and move forward faster. And so there is definitely a time to hire director of development because it adds to your capacity to raise money. But I always have some basic questions. Number one, as a head of the organization or head of school, do you have a personal assistant working with you, preferably full-time? If you don't, then I can guarantee you're not operating at your full capacity, especially as it relates to doing the things that move things forward and raise money. So it would be easier and usually less expensive, and would have a greater impact on both your program overall as well as raising money to make sure that you have an assistant first, because that's going to free up your capacity to do things that only you can do. Another question I ask is, do you have, if you're a head of school, as Jeremy you are, do you have a principal in place that's doing more of the work programmatically with teachers? If so, great. If not, why would we be hiring a director of development first? Because the investment in a principal is going to translate into greater value to the day-to-day experience, your mission, as well as translate into increased time and energy and capacity for you to do the things that actually move forward, including development. So those are two things I always really challenge people to look at first is, have we added capacity inside the organization? And am I really maximizing my time and energy and capacity to move forward? This is becoming increasingly important because in smaller organizations, donors are becoming more and more expectant that they are going to be able to interact with the leader and understand that person, know their plan, know their vision, and be talking with them specifically about what they're giving to. The larger the capacity of the giver, the more oriented that they're going to be toward that. So I hope this isn't discouraging. In some ways it might feel overwhelming, but there is a pathway forward that will really help you, and it's going to strengthen your program and the capacity for your program. It's going to strengthen you and your ability as a leader to make sure you are focusing on the things that get the greatest results in terms of growth and growing giving. And then it adds to your development staff, starting with the director of development at the right time. So I've tried to introduce that and outline this in this video for you. I hope it's helpful. I'm thrilled that you're asking these questions of us, and I'm looking forward to talking with you sometime in the future. Okay, keep me posted on how you're doing. Thanks.